Welcome to Dawala's Digital Toolkit, an introductory course on the various digital tools out there that can be used for online classes. We want to help universities and educational institutions to be more flexible with their education, should they have to physically close down again for any reason in the near future. During the course, we will give short demos of each of these resources, as well as tips for teachers on how to adapt to remote teaching. Starting out, we are going to look into video call resources. There are certainly many tools out there that could be used for video calls, but we have selected the top three that we have found to work particularly well for an online classroom setting. Our first video call tool is called BlueJeans, and this is a great video call platform for online classes. So there are different apps that you can use, for example, the whiteboard, in which you can write different equations and the entire class will be able to see. And you can run problems through here. Excuse my messy handwriting. And really anything you want. And then there's the chat room feature where you can talk to students. Students can talk to the whole class, as you can see over here. And then as the meeting coordinator, you also have the ability to mute all students or turn off their camera, turn it back on to unmute all students. So this is great because it gives you control over the classroom setting to make sure that no one's being disruptive. And you also have the ability to record lectures so you can later upload them for students to watch again. And that's right up here. Additionally, you have the ability to screen share, and students can also share their screen, and that's this button over here. So we can have our student over here share their screen just to show the class the document they're working on. And this is a great feature if it's a STEM class and your student is working on some code, then as the instructor, you can see on the other hand, or just if they have different documents and you want to share them as a visualization so students know what you're talking about. The standard option, which allows up to 50 participants, costs $9.99 a month, and the Pro version, which allows up to 75 participants, costs $13.99 a month. Next up is Google Hangouts or Google Meets. This is a great way to reach out to students, although it is more limited in scope. This platform is best for students to communicate with each other on group projects or for the professor to hold office hours in which students can speak individually with the professor. Similarly to Zoom and BlueJeans, you can also use the screen share feature on Google Meets. So here you can see the Present Now button. You could choose to share your entire screen, a window, or a Chrome tab, and then the student can also share their own screen. So here we have our example student showing their screen, and then this way it encourages collaboration for students to view each other's documents and for you to view your student's screen when you don't have direct access. In terms of pricing for Google Meets, there's a free version that allows up to 100 participants and a meeting length of 1 hour. And then in terms of the other versions, there's the G Suite Essentials and the G Suite Enterprise Essentials, which both allow up to 300 hours of meeting length and 150 meeting participants and 250 meeting participants, respectively. Zoom has some really interesting features, which is why it is so user-friendly and a great way for teachers to interact with students. On the screen, there's a raise hand feature in which students can click on when they wish to speak, and then you as the teacher can unmute the student and lower their hand so that their hand isn't lingering there for you to think they have questions. Additionally, there is a chat box for students to type their questions if they don't feel comfortable speaking up, and students can chat directly with one another as well. And you can see that over here. There is a breakout room setting in which the instructor can make separate rooms for students to emulate that same small group discussion that takes place in class. During these breakout rooms, the instructor can also drop into the different breakout rooms to observe students' discussions. We're not going to do that right now just because we have one participant, but as you can see here, these are the settings to do so. There is also the option to screen share on both the students and instructor's screen. So as you can see over here, there's the screen share button, and here are the different screens that you can share, and students can also do that on their end. This way, the instructor can show PowerPoint or Google Slides while giving a lecture, or they can discuss any documents while giving students a visual of the actual document. There is also a remote access feature in which the student can show their document and the instructor can actually edit their document. So over here, we're going to go to View Options and Request Remote Control. And then on the other side, the student gets to accept that request. And then you can start remote control of the shared screen and type, "Hi there, have access to your screen." So these are just the many features that Zoom has. And then when it comes to payment for Zoom, there is a paid version that costs $149.90 per year or $14.99 a month. And there's also a free version which allows up to 100 participants on the call and a maximum of 40 minutes per meeting. After the 40-minute period is over, the meeting will restart and all members will be ejected. However, you can instantly restart a 40-minute session and then ask the students to all come back on that meeting. And yeah, that's just an overall summary of Zoom. Next, we want to introduce you to some nice written document services that can be used for student assignments. We will start with first talking about Google Docs. So up here you can see all these different functions that you can sort of play around with and see what you like. So you can change the font here, the font size, if you want to highlight something. When you need to save your document, maybe you want to download it as a Microsoft Word document or a PDF. All of that stuff is stuff that you can sort of play around with. What we really wanted to highlight in this resource was just the collaborative feature that Google Docs has. Over here, if you click on the share feature, you can actually share your document with multiple people so that different people can work on it at once. So let's add someone here. And then it's important to look at this little feature and see what you give access to the person that you're sharing it with. So let's say that I'm working on an essay and it's not just me, two other people also have to work on it. Then I want to give them editor access. And that just means that the other two people that I share the document with have the same exact functions that I do on the document. They can also change the text, they can add whatever they want, or say that I've already written my essay and I just want someone to make edits to it and make suggestions, then I would only want to give them the commenter feature. This just means that they can't actually change anything on my document, but they could make suggestions and I can accept those suggestions. And finally, we have viewer access, and this is if you've written a document and say as a teacher you want to distribute it to a bunch of different students. For example, it's the syllabus of your class. Then you don't want every single student to be able to make any changes to that document. You would only then want to give them viewer access, and that means that they could just look at your document and not change anything. And you can also choose to notify people or not, but notifying is probably best so that they get the email and they know that you've shared this document with them. I'm not going to share this right now, but that's just an example. And then on Google Documents and Google Slides, Google spreadsheets alike, there's also this ability to share the document using the link over here. So There we go. Here you can copy the link and you can send it to any of your friends or colleagues that you're working with, and they can access the document using this link instead of having to manually find it themselves every time. And then over here, you also can change anyone who has the link to be a commenter, an editor, or viewer, which we discussed earlier. And so this is additionally a great feature on these Google platforms that you can use to expedite the process of sharing documents. Once you actually use these features, so I'm going to show you what they look like. If you have edit access, it's regular. Anyone can comment whatever they want. But let's say that someone only has suggesting access. And then you're editing somebody's paper and you see, oh, they misspelled hope. Let's take out that E. It doesn't actually remove the E, it just makes a suggestion, and then that person can go back and accept that suggestion. Now, say that you don't like how somebody used an exclamation point. You can strike that out and then add a period instead, and again, the person can accept that suggestion. Now, let's say that the person forgot to add something. You can also highlight and make a comment. So you can say, don't forget to mention the different functions Google Docs has. And then the person can again see your comment and implement those suggestions. So this is just a really brief overview on Google Docs, but feel free to play around and see what you like. And this is just a great feature this is a great resource for students to use in an online classroom setting. And yeah. So now we're going to look into Google Slides. Again, I'm not going to go into complete detail because a lot of these features are stuff you could play around with in terms of formatting. The different themes that you want to choose is all up to you. But here, as you can see, when you add a different slide, you can choose which kind you want. You can change the fill color of your text. It's all up to you. But what we wanted to highlight is, again, this collaborative feature that Google Slides has. You can share your document with multiple different people, and then all of those people can edit, again, if you give them edit access, or if you change that same feature here on the side. You can change it to viewer, commenter, or you can give temporary access. It's all up to you, but it's important just to know that these features exist. So then you can still keep that same collaborative effort that you had in a classroom setting and just move it online and do online presentations. Now we will be discussing Google Sheets. So this is an excellent resource for accounting classes to keep track of any finances. And then this is also a great resource, however, for teachers to keep track of the lessons that they've taught, attendance, participation in classes. There's really a ton of different things that you can use Google Sheets for. Again, we wanted to highlight this collaborative feature where you can have multiple students working on a project, or say you're keeping track of students' attendance on Google Sheets and you want them to see it, then you can also share it with them, but only give them viewer access just to make sure that they don't change anything. So it's really up to you on how you use this, but what's also really interesting are the different functions that you can use on Google Sheets. So they're listed here and you can research and find some, but let's say you're keeping track of expenditures and you want to add them all, then you can add these different cells, and let's do B2 and B3. And as you can see, it aggregates these numbers without you having to put in more effort or doing it through a calculator. So it's really up to you on what you use this resource for, but it's definitely a great resource for students to collaborate on, or just for you to keep track of things administratively. And finally, we wanted to discuss Google Forms function. So with Google Forms, you can create different surveys and send them out to students. So let's call this the student check-in survey. And on this, you can ask different questions. So you can add different questions. You can ask which video call resource students prefer for online lectures and get an idea. If you're wondering sort of a rough estimate of how students are doing in class, you can ask, are they overwhelmed with the level of work this class requires? If you're debating which lesson plan to start with, you can ask, do you prefer to learn about this week, or would you rather learn this week? So it's up to you, the questions you want to ask. And what's great about this is that you can distribute the survey using a link, or you can email it to students, and then you can look at their responses, and it actually shows you a graph of what students think. So here you can say that a majority of the class are not overwhelmed with the level of work. So then maybe you can decide to increase the workload for the class or just keep it the way it is. If students are preferring Zoom, then maybe you could consider transferring. And yeah, this is just a great resource to check in with students and make sure that they're coping well with online classes, since you don't get that same level of interaction that you did before. Now we will discuss Facebook groups. Facebook groups are a great way to communicate with students about what is going on in class or to engage students in discussions regarding topics discussed in class. In Facebook groups, the thread feature can be used for students to comment on each other's ideas on posts and tag people in messages. This is a great way for students to be engaged and to make use of a free platform for an educational purpose. Professors can also create multiple groups, perhaps one for students' parents, so that they can keep them updated about what is going on in classes or to discuss their students' needs, even on a one-on-one basis through the messaging feature. Or you can also create a Facebook group for individual classes. This is to update students on which homework assignments are due, or different project due dates, or even for students to ask each other questions about the class through posts if the teacher is unavailable. Another excellent app to communicate with students is Slack. You can create multiple channels for different classes. As you can see here, this is the Dawala Slack, but these are just an example of what it looks like to have different channels. And then through the direct message function, you can also message students directly and speak with them. And you can also comment and tag different people. As you can see here, I was tagged in this post, and then people added comments on the thread. And you can also pin important messages so that the entire class can see. So here in more actions, you can put pin to channel, and then there are just some different features that you can use. As you can see, it says pinned by me, so then everybody in this channel can see it. And then you can also unpin from channel. So there is a different there are different versions of this platform. There's a free version, which only allows one channel, and that's this channel called General. And there's a maximum amount of messages that can be reached before you have to upgrade to the next version. The standard version allows unlimited messages, though it only has access to one channel, and this version costs $6.67 a month. The Plus version is the most ideal. It allows unlimited channels and unlimited messages, and that costs $12.50 per month. Although all of these resources can be used to transfer classes online, It is important for professors to consider students' mental well-being in this process as well. Teachers should be open-minded and willing to change their curriculum, even if they are able to transfer everything to online. To start with, teachers should consider changing their curriculum to include only the most important learning goals. This can be done by making a list of updated goals and key takeaways that you want your students to learn, and find the best online resource to help achieve that. It would of course be most ideal to teach every single concept that you laid out initially. However, students' focus time is a lot shorter by staying home all of the time. Continuing the same lengthy homework assignments and lectures could overwhelm them and turn them off to wanting to learn, rather than enabling students to use school as a way to forget about life's anxieties. In the US, many schools changed their semester grading system to pass no pass to remove the stress of COVID-19 on their students. Next, you want to try out these different platforms and see what works best for your class and your students' needs. Energizers are a great way to engage students in a remote setting. If you go out and check the Hyper Island Remote Toolbox, you can select from a range of remote energizers that are sure to be a hit in your class. Try the Digital Catch-Up or Two Truths and One Lie energizers to get students to get more familiar with each other. Or maybe try Speed Desk or Guess the Song, which can also give students a fun break and motivate them to keep going. The final tool we want to introduce you to is Diwala, a new platform that is redefining skill verification for the 21st century. 1.8 billion people worldwide are living without an ID capable of proving their education and work history, making verification extremely time-consuming and costly. Our mission is to enable job opportunities for talent worldwide. The Diwala ecosystem optimizes the process of verification for university students and employers. The platform allows you to create courses and onboard students efficiently, providing you with a fast and secure way to issue certificates using digital signatures, saving your organization time and money. Students can now download the Diwala app to get their skill identity. A skill identity is the new digital way of showcasing a person's achievements and work experience, so they can easily share the digital certificates with employers and focus on winning that interview. Employers can verify the certificates in seconds, safely knowing the information comes directly from the university. Built in Uganda, Diwala was the first company to issue digital certificates on the African continent using blockchain technology in 2018. Diwala enables people with ownership of their information with top industry security standards. Join us in building a digital ecosystem of trust. Get started today at www.diwala.io. As you can see, there are many good digital tool options out there, which can help you teach remotely and keep classes going even under difficult circumstances. Education is vital for our development and well-being, and with all these tools available, there shouldn't be any reason for stopping education. The Diwala platform can also help you in certifying your students remotely, so they should not have to lose any job opportunities. Feel free to start using our platform for free and issue certificates and skill identities to your students. And please let us know should there be any inquiries through our intercom chat or at hello@diwala.io. Thank you.